picks it up and drills it into the back of the net.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
it's all in the detail.
puts it up and drills it into the back of the net.
At Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore. Reading!
Welcome to SAFC Live. Myself and Danny are back here in the warm studio, but many of our thousands of fans have travelled down to South East London because Sunderland take on Millwall this afternoon. Danny, it's good to be back after another long international break.
Yeah, it is indeed, yeah, and what was a disappointing end to it prior to the break, really, wasn't it, with us 2-0 up in that first half, played some excellent football against Coventry, and then unfortunately conceded the 2 second half and just take the point from the game. But we're still sat in a good position, as we said, top of the table. Yeah, we've got to kick on again now. It's a tough week coming up. Obviously, we'll get onto the team in a minute. A few changes, injuries, suspensions haven't helped, but we've got to get on with it, and we're there to be shot down. Let's have a look at the team news then, because a lot of speculation going into this game because of injuries and suspensions, and there's been probably more than we were anticipating even yesterday and last night, Danny. Yeah, I think so, yeah. Well, just looking at it straight away, 6 changes for Regis Labrie this afternoon. Anthony Patterson returns in goal for Simon Moore. A couple of changes there at the back line. Dan Ballard coming in, and Adji Elise, Dennis Sirkin comes out, and obviously Trey Hume, as we know, with his suspension. I think Luke will obviously move across to right back. That's what I think we're going to go with across the back. Changing shape to that 4-4-2, I think. Mienda coming in on that right hand side. Patrick Roberts suspended. Aaron Conley up the top end of the pitch, I think, alongside Isidore. He'll probably drop in 4-2-3-1 at times, with Isidore being the sort of lone striker really, and then Tommy Watson in his favourite position.
And let's leave that graphic on screen, Danny, as well, because it is a very young bench as well. Lots of opportunities.
Yeah, they are, yeah, and I know a lot of these young lads as well. A bit of coaching with them over the last couple of seasons at the club, and they've been doing well for the 21. So yeah, they'll get an opportunity. I'm sure 1 or 2 off the bench this afternoon, and in the weeks moving forward. As you say, through this Christmas period, it's tough, game after game. And we're going to need depth in the squad, and Oshish and Abdullah Bar returning as well on the bench.
So the official lines coming out of the squad is: after sustaining a broken wrist against QPR, Dennis Sirkin misses today's game after undergoing surgery during the international break. The defender is expected to return to action following a short recovery period. Obviously another blow though for the preferred starting 11. Yeah,
he's been excellent, and his goal alone, wasn't it, last time out against Coventry? A great strike. But yeah, I think that's the one which is going to surprise people, I think. Yeah, he had that bandage on last week, didn't he, in the game against Coventry?
A brilliant goal as well.
And it's sort of gone under the radar because there's talk about, obviously, the team, the formation, what's going to happen with the ones what we knew about in terms of Trey Hume, and obviously Job still suspended as well, Patrick Roberts on the right-hand side, Alan Brown and Romain Mundle getting injured in the same incident really in the game as well. So it's all come at once, but we've got to dig in, we've got to rally together and try and get through it.
Yep, absolutely. So that was the Sunderland team news. Of course, we're going to reflect now on Sunderland's last time out, which of course was against Coventry City. We saw some brilliant goals. We'll play the highlights now, and we can obviously discuss them as and when they appear on the highlights reel, Danny. But disappointing second half, and it was a little bit disappointing to go into the international break. Obviously still top of the league though.
Yeah, but I think if you look at the week as a whole, we weren't great at Queen's Park Rangers, took the point. Preston weren't great, take your point on the road, as Rob obviously points out when he's on with us, and yeah, I get that, take your points on the road. Then we were back at home, and I thought we were excellent for 30-35 minutes in this first half. Just have a look at the build-up in this one here now. So making our way down the left-hand side, say Dennis involved, little give and go, Alan Brown, Romain Mundle, lovely weight on it first time, and all that one touch play down the left hand side. And look at the reactions in the middle from, I think it's Chris Rigg actually, hands on his head, is it? I'm not sure, and behind him there, just catching there, look. And it's a lovely finish from Wilson, just getting across that sort of near post area, and just guides it into the top corner, no chance for the keeper. But just prior to that, we'd had 2 or 3 really good deliveries coming into the box, and we just built in a bit of confidence, and then from that point into half time, I thought we were outstanding, some of the best football we've played for a while. Half time, as you say, sometimes come at the wrong time for us because we didn't continue after the break.
Yeah, not at all. And Coventry involved in the early kick-off today as well. We'll keep you across that score. It's currently 2-2 in that game against Sheffield United, which of course will affect Sunderland, their positioning this afternoon as well. But yeah, I mean, we saw some great goals as you've touched upon. We've seen some great moments, some great passing play. You know, it was kind of like the Sunderland performances we've seen earlier this season. And you know, going into half-time, Danny, you thought it was never in doubt, did you?
No, it's not. Here we go. Just have a quick look at Dennis here. He's on the gallop, isn't it? So we've done well. We steal the ball deep in our half. Little give and go with Romain down the left-hand side. Not too many options. You maybe can roll Wilson in outside in there, but he's got 3 or 4 blue shirts around in there, and then bang. No chance for the keeper. You know, Dennis is probably, 22 yards out or so, 25 yards even, doing him a misjustice there, but it's a great strike, and the keeper, as I say there, it's a bit of a token of a dive, but it flies past him, and it's a wonderful strike. And as you say there, you're 2-0 up, we've been playing some good football, and you're thinking the 3 points are in the bag. Second half, for me, 1 or 2 people have said Coventry come out and they were on the front. I just felt that we just took our foot off and sat back, allowed Coventry to get back into the game, and then obviously the first goal almost sums it up really, where you're comfortable at 2-0 and then out of nothing they get a little bit of fortune from it, which we'll see in a moment, and they capitalised, and then all of a sudden the atmosphere changes in the ground.
But Sunderland did have a couple of opportunities in that second half to put it out of sight, didn't they?
Counter-attacks especially, see that one there. Romain doesn't get it right. He's trying to open his body up and shape it into the far corner, but as I say, doesn't quite get it right, does he? But just here now, just see these little periods where we're just dropping deep, and then their centre halves can step in, and here's the goal, is it now? Yeah, Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Dan Neil just gives him a little nudge in the back. He stumbles and it just comes off Alan Brown. You'll see it better from behind here now. Look, unfortunate. And then he's just the other side of Luke. Can't quite get there, Luke. Trying to.
It's a good turn that from Hadji Wright as well,
yeah,
isn't it?
He's a good player. Yeah, obviously he went off injured not long after, but he's a good player certainly at this level. He can finish. I think he's got several goals already this season. It didn't look good when he rolled his ankle later on, so I'm not sure whether he's been involved today actually. But yeah, he tucked it away. Good finish, but as we're saying there, Frankie, look, we're still having moments on the counter attack as well, and remain trying to get forward here. Maybe could have squared it edge of the box for Chris Rigg on that one. But yeah, it become a little bit more open in the second half, and sometimes we'll say it favours us because we've got the pace on the counter attack. And there's that incident now. You see Remain's gone down. I think Alan Brown's injured, and then if he nicks that around,
yeah, it's such a huge moment, isn't it? Because massive. Brown's gone down,
yeah.
Mundell's gone down.
Yeah.
Easterdore has a wonderful opportunity, doesn't take it, and then it proved to be a big moment.
Fine
in the
margins
game.
in football, as you say. If he nips that past the keeper, 3-1, that's probably game over. We don't. We lose 2 players. We're having to make changes. Then we're tinkering the side around. Obviously, Dan Ballard comes on at the back, and well, here we go now. Second goal for them. You just see how deep we are now. Look, Forster's back. We're sitting off, and then ball finds its way out to that far side. Maybe Trey can do a little bit more. Stop the cross. We don't, and then Dennis there. He's caught a little bit square on. He's not opened himself up, and it's Radoni, isn't it? Who gets the run on him. You see there, you've got to get up early. I've been in that position when I've played full back. You know it's coming, just jump early, and Dennis doesn't get off the floor, and he gets the run on him, and that's that 2-2.
Yeah, 2-2, and that's how it finished. And we'll look through the final moments here, and of course everyone was very deflated after such a brilliant first half, but nonetheless, though, we went into the international break, Danny, top of the league, and that's where we were this morning before a ball was kicked, and we can go back there as well if we win our game this afternoon as well, Danny, can't we?
Yeah, well, obviously, I think if Sheffield United, as you say, playing now, it's 2-2. Coventry not long equalised before we come on air, so they'll go top with a point.
Burnley have won.
And Burnley as well, yeah, they have, yeah. So, it's all to do, isn't it? And sometimes it's better when you can see the results come in, and obviously you know what you've got to go out there and do and how you've got to perform this afternoon. Let's
give you that team news again. If you are just joining us around the world, we're broadcasting around the world here on SAFC Live, and a couple of familiar faces there from a Sunderland perspective in the Millwall ranks, but we'll get onto them in the second part of the programme, where we'll be joined by Rob Mason very soon. But that is the Sunderland team news, Danny. Lots of changes, forced changes.
Yeah, it's. I think this has been the chat, hasn't it? Discussions all week, I'm sure, between the fans, and I think, maybe in terms of the shape, really, that's certainly the personnel. We know that's a guarantee, but 6 changes. Whether we slot into that, I think that's what we're going to line up. Or maybe I would, and then maybe Aaron Connolly just dropping in between, sort of Dan Neil and Chris Rigg, just ahead of them in that sort of pocket in the 10 space in behind Isidore, but getting up there alongside him, because it's been difficult for Connolly when he's got game time. He's been isolated at times. I think it suits him perhaps more having a partner up there alongside him. So we'll see how he gets on today.
Yep, absolutely. Okay then, so that's how we look this afternoon. When we come back, we'll be joined by Rob Mason at some point, our club historian. Just a reminder, you can get your matchday streaming passes right now at safc.com. And of course, you can watch around the world with us here on SAFC Live. You may be enjoying the pre-game programme. We do it every single match day, and that is free on YouTube for all Sunderland fans around the world to watch us here. So we'll see you soon. Well, welcome back everyone to SAFC Live. We are now joined, as is tradition, by club historian Rob Mason. Let's give everyone the team news then, and we can discuss it if we can, please. That is some live scenes there from down at the Den. Rob, plenty to discuss, as you and Danny can take us through these changes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people were well aware there was going to be lots of change in the team today. I, for one, didn't know that Dennis Cirkin wasn't going to be available until the teams came out, so that's another blow. But looking at the 11 we've got there, still a pretty strong lineup. Whether we take the field in that shape or not, I'm never too sure whether the manager's
I've gone for, Rob.
That's what you've gone for. No, I'm not.
Disagree or agree?
I'm just saying I don't really know, and I think with the head coach that we've got, sometimes he might want to spring a surprise. That seems to me a perfectly reasonable way of looking at it, and you're probably right. But I wouldn't be totally surprised to see my end to go through the middle and Isidore shifted to one of the wings. We'll find out a couple of minutes of the game.
We will, yeah. Just as well, something we haven't mentioned, Adji Elise coming in as well at left back. Hasn't played too much football since he picked up, started the season really well at centre back. I'm not sure he's even played too many minutes for the 21s.
No. I don't think he's had a game at all.
Straight back into the deep end,
Needs must at this time of season as well, Danny. It often happens, never but a pause, doesn't it?
Well, it does, yeah. From Adji's point of view, obviously with Dennis, there would have been maybe a little bit of pressure. He was coming back. How are you feeling, Adji? Do you think you can go back in there? And he probably thinks, yeah, opportunity for me to go straight back in. Feeling fine, yeah, get me back out there. We'll have to wait and see. And then obviously ahead of him, Tommy Watson. Go back to Preston a couple of weeks ago, played out on the right side. I actually didn't think he'd done too bad in the first. We weren't great as a team, but Tommy, for a fact, doesn't like playing on the right-hand side. So if he does get the opportunity to take, again, we'll have to wait and see. He much prefers playing over on the left. And
let's have a quick look at Millwall now then, if we can, because they, Danny, have made several changes themselves.
Yeah, 6 for ourselves and 5 for them as well. And, you know, they're on a pretty decent run, aren't they? 7 unbeaten. I think all the talk was about Big Cooper at the back, who comes forward. He's at 6'6", 6'7", handful. Well, he's not out there this afternoon. Hutchinson coming in for him at centre half. A few changes down their left-hand side. Saville coming in for Wintle in the middle of the park. Brian coming in at full-back for McNamara. Honeyman, as we all know, George coming in. We think he'll probably play on the left-hand side. Aziz dropping to the bench, and then Bradshaw coming out for another former Sunderland player, Duncan Watmore. So again, we're sort of guessing at them, but they've made 5 changes. Ourselves 6. All hands on deck.
Yeah, it is a lot of changes for both teams after they've each had a fortnight away. With the international break, obviously teams have had players away on internationals and they're restricted by those that they've got injuries, but clearly the relevant head coaches have been working very, very hard at thinking how do they approach this game, and both have sprung some surprises there. I agree with you about Tommy Watson. It's great to see him playing. I like him. It's good to see that I get an opportunity. If he does play on the left, then we'll see the best of him. And with regard to A.G. Elise, I thought in the first few games of the season he was the person I actually thought was our best player week to week.
Yeah,
what a blow to get to lose him. Great that he's back in. You remember, I think he came back in after an injury before when we desperately needed him, and he clearly wasn't right in that playoff game at Luton. Put the team ahead of himself. Obviously didn't do himself any good. He suffered a recurrence of the injury, and we missed him a long time. Hopefully coming back into the team today, having been out injured for a while, hopefully he'll get through the 90 minutes without any reaction, particularly as obviously we've got 2 very big games coming up on Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah, it's another busy week, isn't it, Danny, next week with those games coming up on Tuesday and Friday. And Adji Elise has been a great player when we've seen him in a Sunderland shirt, just hasn't had the consistency of injury-free time, has he?
Yeah, it's frustrating for himself, obviously, and for ourselves. As Rob mentioned there, he was one of the standout players early on in the season, 4 clean sheets on the bounce, wasn't it? But yeah, big opportunity. You know, one door closes, another opens, and he will have been watching it thinking it's going to be tough for me to get back in. Chris Metman would come in at centre back, outstanding. Dennis flying, goal scored last week, but then opportunity there for him. So hopefully, as we say, can stay injury free. He can kick on now and continue where he left, really.
Yeah, and in terms of that competition for places, you know, I think we all have now reached the stage of the season where I think most people, me included, can sort of look and think, well, if everybody was fit, what's our strongest team? And you're looking at that, well, players like A.G. Elise and Tommy Watson will be thinking that as well, and they've got an opportunity to play this afternoon, and they'll be wanting to do so well that as and when everybody is fit, or the 3 lads come back from suspension on Tuesday night, that they've done well enough to think, you know what, can't drop me, I did so well. That's their challenge.
Opportunities, that's how it happens, isn't it, sometimes? Yeah, Danny. I just want to mention this thing here, which I have in my hand, and Robbie, you might have seen this as well.
Indeed.
Love Supreme are selling this on behalf of the Sunderland Community Soup Kitchen. You can get it from ALS Shop and online as well. All the money going to Sunderland Soup Kitchen. And Rob, I bet you've made a few of these recipes over the years.
Well,
pinnacle tea and pink slices.
Well, yeah, the vegetarian ones I will have done, and the pink slices, of course. And yeah,
you can make a veggie panac.
You can indeed. You've turned to the pink slice. Recommend the pink slice page there, and yeah, it's a great book. It's for a great cause. And, I'm sure a lot of people will be finding that in their Christmas stockings.
It's also got some good stuff in, like council pop and things like that, which only people from Sunderland really understand what that means. That's a good cause, so do get those. That is a good Christmas appeal in the community here at Sunderland. Back on to today's game then, guys. You might remember this one, Rob, in 1995, 6-0 win at Roker Park. Craig Russell scoring 4 of those goals. One of my favourite games ever as a Sunderland supporter, because Millwall at the time, I think, were top of the league under Mick McCarthy.
Millwall were top. We thrashed them 6-0, as you say. Craig got 4, and Millwall fell away and finished quite near the bottom, if I remember rightly, that season. There was one of 2 games in that sort of period where we stuck 6 past them at Roker Park. The one that really comes to mind when you talk about Millwall games, other than the FA Cup semi-final, in terms of league games, was the opening game. I'm going further back. The opening game of the 1974-75 season at Millwall, where Sunderland won 4-1. I've got mixed feelings about that game. On the one hand, it was brilliant to start the season with a 4-1 win. On the other hand, out of all of the games I've ever been to in my life, it was the most frightening and the most terrifying because of the trouble that was taking place on the pitch. And we'd moved through. I was with a lad called Ian Chester, who some people will know. He was one of the singers on the Cheer Up Peter Reid record.
Oh yes.
And we'd paid into the end. There was an awful lot of trouble. That's an understatement. An awful lot of trouble behind the goal. And there was a little booth where you could pay a few extra pounds, or not pounds, pennies or whatever it was, to pay into the seats. Yeah. So we were just kids. We didn't have much money. We paid the extra money to go in the seats, thinking we'll be out of the way of the trouble. No. It was worse. And then you couldn't get back. So 3-1 to Sunderland with about 10 minutes left. I said to Ian, let's move seats, hide your scarf. If Sunderland score again, don't shout. We might get out alive. So we moved seats, sat and tried to look like Millwall supporters. Last minute, we score, go 4-1. I'm sitting there, looking very unhappy. Sunderland scored. Ian's going, get in. I think, I've never ran so fast in my life. The whistle went moments later. Honestly, you can't see me running fast now, but back in 1974, I could shift if I needed to.
Yeah, because
we really needed to do an Olympic qualifying time to get out alive.
They had that reputation, didn't they, in the 70s and 80s as well for that. But it's all about the ground still. It's still quite an intimidating ground to go to, isn't it, Danny? You'll have played there.
No, I've played there a few times. Yeah, it is obviously called the New Den. I think they've reverted back to just calling it the Den now as well.
I think they wanted to call it Cold Blow Lane a lot of the time.
Yeah, but it is. It's it is quite hostile. I don't think it'll be packed out there, but from our point of view, we've got some young lads there. You hope the atmosphere doesn't play a part in it from their point of view, and they can concentrate on what's going on the pitch a little bit more. But yeah, certainly, you're running to get the ball from a throw in. You can get 1 or 2 shouts coming in your way. Yeah. You've got to try and put it behind you and get on with the game.
If you're going to get promotion, and we've got a young team, you're going to get promotion. You don't win promotion by playing nice football in 30 games of the season. You've got the other 16 where there's awkward situations, such as away at Luton, where the weather's awful, where you've got a situation like today at Millwall. You've got to be able to last the course with all the different circumstances the season throws up. And this away to Millwall on a cold, horrible day in November with the atmosphere at Cold Blow Lane, you've got to be able to get over that. You've got to come away with at least a point. Danny's going to nudge me now and said you're not 1-3, Rob, but at least a point, ideally 3, but at least a point from such an away game.
I mean, everyone will say this. Normally, Rob's philosophy is a point away from home is a good point. Today, with all the changes as well, maybe more people falling into Rob's camp on that.
I would say yes, and I was edging driving
and Millwall, the form team in the division.
Yeah, but they themselves have changed half their outfield team as well. No, I would look at it, but at the same time, I do look at us, and I think if Tommy turns up today and he's at it, Isidore, we've got players that can cause them problems. Of course,
we can absolutely hurt them.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's another 3-game week, albeit we've got 2 here, haven't we? Later on in the week.
No. West Brom at home, and then Sheffield
United away. Sorry, on the Friday, isn't it? Yeah, so we're on the trip. Yeah, so you're looking at it. Obviously, it feels like we let the 2 points slip in the last home game here, didn't we? So in a way, you need to try and make them up somehow. So whether it's today or Sheffield United, but that's going to be a toughie. So you probably look at this one on paper and think, yes, these are doing well. They're in form, but it's a difficult one because I say yes, you're away at Millwall. You know, you're not going to sort of one of the top teams at the start of the season where you think Cooper's not there today. You know, it's a loss for them because he's a handful of set pieces. They've still got good players themselves as well to come in as well. But no, I'd be looking at it, and if I'm in the change room now at 5-3 with Luke O'Nien, the rest of the boys waiting to come out into the tunnel, I'm still confident we can go out there and get 3 points because we're sat top of the table for a reason.
And that's what Regis said in the press conference this week, didn't he? He said he looked at the 11 on paper and thought, we've got a good chance.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's a very, very tough week for Sunderland this week. All 3 of the games are very hard, but 100% of our focus has got to be on this afternoon. We start with a point. If we come away with a point, in my book, that's a good result. But you don't go into the game wanting a point. You go into the game wanting 3. You just make sure whatever happens, if you can't win the game, you certainly don't lose it.
Yeah, okay then. Let's have another look at the Sunderland side then before we hit the next ad break. People just joining us around the world. There's Tom Watson there, just getting some last minute warm-ups in. Danny, just take us through how many changes.
Again, talking with Tommy, just his confidence didn't take a little dent since, you know, when he come on, he come off 10-15 minutes after the break. At Preston, wasn't it? He come off and then he didn't play last time out. So you're thinking, you know, but if he is starting on the left today, I'm sure he'll be in there thinking, get me on the board. You know, they've got Leonard playing at full-back. I think naturally he's a centre midfielder. I think he's 32, 33-year-old. He's not going to enjoy young Tommy, who's 17, 18, running at him constantly. So get the ball out to him early, and if he goes past him, he'll be full of confidence then, Tommy. But as I say, yes, we're looking at it. We've made 6 changes, but it's not as if we've had to fill the squad with young, inexperienced players there. You know, a lot of those boys, apart from Tommy, play Championship football. You know, Connolly's played Premier League football as well. Ballard's just been away playing international football.
Absolutely.
So we've got more than enough out there.
I think if you're looking at the bench, then if Regis looks over his shoulder at the bench, he's not got the kind of options he normally does have. But one player, or 2 players in particular, I'd like to pick out is Ogunsui, who I'm delighted to see is fit to be on the bench, because I was a bit worried. I watched the game the other night, under-21s, when he scored twice. Well, to be fair, first one was a fluke, it deflected off him. Second one was a well-taken goal. But he scored twice in a 5-1 win for the under-21s away to Tamworth the other night. And I think he's got something like 8 goals in 7 games. But it's not just his goals, he's all-round play this season. He's come on absolutely leaps and bounds. And also a player who's increasingly catching my eye. I'm quite slow because he's caught a lot of other people's eyes for a long time. But I really like the way he's coming on at the moment. Is Ben Middlemas, who's
first time we've seen him on the bench as well.
Talented midfield player. Be a very, very difficult game for him to come into today should he get a debut. But if people are looking at those names and not knowing much about them, they are good players.
I've worked with Ben, say a couple of seasons ago. Good technical player, sort of an 8 or a 10 really in there.
You think though in the pecking order we might see our first glimpse of Milan, maybe?
Yeah, it's been waiting a while, hasn't he? For, you know, you look at the last couple of games again, Coventry. When Alan Brown gets injured, you're thinking we'd control of the game for me in the middle of the park, and obviously brings Dan Ballard on, so naturally you're not regaining it there because you've gone 5 at the back. But that was an opportunity. People have talked about the Oxford game prior to that. You know, look comfortable. Could we give him 15 minutes in that game? But he's still waiting. I think he's been away and played for Serbia 21s in the hasn't he? So he's got game time under his belt there. But yeah, he'll be frustrated. He'll be thinking, we're making changes here. I've been on the bench and I'm still not getting an opportunity.
Equally, when you talk about getting game time during the break, sometimes you get very frustrated that players who you don't want to get injured are playing international football. This time I think the international breaks work for us because Dan Ballard's had a couple of games, so you know he's got a bit of game time. He got a bit in this afternoon, and obviously on Tuesday when Job's available again, he wouldn't have otherwise played for a long time, but he's had the opportunity to play for England.
And obviously Shelder went away as well, didn't he? And got some game time as well. And I think as well we kept Chris Rick here, which is a good thing.
That was great because Chris has played enough. But I think on this particular occasion, national breaks worked to our benefit.
It has.
Yeah, it can be thick and fast all the way up until Christmas. It's 9 fixtures or something up until that period of time. Danny, as a footballer, do you look forward to this period of time? You know, especially if you're top of the league, I'd imagine you look forward to it, game by game.
Yeah, I'll look forward to it more now as a retired footballer. I can enjoy my Christmas. I'm not in training on the Christmas morning at 9 o'clock. No, you do. Yeah, of course you do. You know the game coming thick and fast. Of course, you try and enjoy it as much as you can with your families. Difficult because you know the next game's a 2 round the corner and you've got to get your head set on that as well, so it is difficult. A lot of the boys have got kids as well who want to enjoy Christmas with their dads, but not the case sometimes when they get up and dad's having to go and catch a lift with the teammates and make his way to the ground.
Yeah, imagine having to take your kid to work with you. You can't see Lucas out of shot there. You are watching SAFC Live. We're broadcasting around the world here for Sunderland AFC. Sunderland down at the Den this afternoon. 3 p.m. kickoff, so join us for that. Rob, thanks for your company as ever.
Cheers, Rob.
And remember, you can still get your Match Today streaming passes if you are watching around the world right now at safc.com.
Virtue Motors, it's all in the people.
My love of Spitfires came as a small boy. Working on Spitfires is a huge responsibility, and the same applies at work.
I'm a Punjabi singer. I've got a passion for singing, and I always loved cars.
When I'm photographing the car, I try and picture myself as the customer, so the photos have to look really good.
The care, passion and attention to detail people at Virtue Motors invest in the things they love will help you choose your next perfect car. Because at Virtue Motors,
It's all in the detail.
See if they can test Newcastle one more time here with Altidore. The reading.
Welcome to SAFC Live. We're broadcasting around the world here. Myself and Danny in the somewhat warmth of the SAFC studio.
Slightly.
And of course, many of the Sunderland fans sold out away end, made the treacherous journey down to southeast London. We do wish them all safe travels. It's another long one for them. Not very nice conditions, Danny.
No, not at all. No, woke up this morning, blanket of snow across the drive, the cars, and yeah, I'm sure it's made its way around the country. But yeah, it's rain. You can just see it there, can't you? It's miserable conditions. But do you know what? Yeah, I enjoy playing in these conditions. Much preferred it to the sun. I've said it a few times, haven't I? Where, yeah, ball's slick, isn't it? Sitting around the surface. And the lads know it's going to be a tough afternoon. These are in decent form. They've had a couple of good scalps recently, Burnley and Leeds as well, haven't they? I think they've got Sheffield United coming up as well themselves. So, yeah, they've been doing well. They'll have a bit of confidence behind them. They've made changes, albeit I think Cooper's the only one that's come out who's injured. The other four have dropped down to the bench this afternoon.
Shall we have a look at their side then?
Yeah.
Let's have a look at Millwall if we can then, please, production team. We'll throw that up onto your screen. You can see the London landscape at the top of the Dockers stand there. Look at that. You see the city behind Canary Wharf and all that kind of thing. So that is the Millwall side this afternoon. As Danny said, a few of those featured players from their last game have dropped to the bench. That was, of course, a 1-1 draw away at Stoke.
Yeah, and let's say Hutchinson's coming at centre-back for Cooper. Big Cooper will be a miss for them at set pieces. You know, sometimes you get big lads who go forward and just make up the numbers where he's up there. He's a threat, he throws his arms round, he's an absolute handful. Scored a great header. It was a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Burnley actually, planted one in the top corner. Yeah, left back, Brian's come in for McNamara, dropped down to the bench. George Honeyman, who we know obviously coming in, we think he'll play on the left hand side. Duncan Watmore coming in, scored against us I think last season here at the Stadium of Light.
It was.
And then Saville, who's been there a while now, isn't he? George Saville coming in for Winterl in the middle of the park. So yeah, you know, strange as I said there in terms of the amount of change, especially after a break really, when they've been doing pretty well, that he's opted to make as many changes as he had from their point of view.
So that's your Millwall side. Let me just bring you up to speed with the early kickoffs in the Championship this afternoon. It finished Sheffield Wednesday 1, Cardiff 1. There was also a draw for Coventry against Sheffield United. 2-2 that one finished, with Sheffield United having a player sent off. Burnley won away at Bristol City. So Sunderland know what they have to do today.
Yeah, we see that obviously Burnley gaining ground on us. I think they're sat a point behind us. Sheffield United now have gone clear, albeit only by that point now, as I say. Coventry managing to get the equalisers helped us out really, hasn't it? And yeah, so Sheffield United, to be fair, they had a man sent off I think just before the break. So they've had to battle on there for 45 minutes, albeit we did see the goal before we come in the room, and they will be disappointed. Set piece, corner, nobody near Thomas who scored. But you know, it's back over to ourselves now, so the lads will be fully aware of that result and the results around them. But we've got to go and do our job. If we pick up the 3 points, we go back top of the table. Absolutely,
Danny. Another big opportunity for Sunderland to stay at the top of the EFL Championship. Let's have a look at that Sunderland side. And we know there's changes. We knew there was going to be changes. We knew Patrick Roberts, Job and Hume were going to be suspended. We knew that Romain Mundell and Alan Brown were going to be out through injury. We didn't expect Dennis Serkin to not make the squad at all, did we?
No, it wasn't. It was a bit of a shock, wasn't it? And yeah, albeit I think it was obviously his right hand he had bandaged up last week. So
let me give you the official line on that, Danny, about Dennis. After sustaining a broken wrist against QPR, Dennis Serkin misses today's game after undergoing surgery during the international break. The defender is expected to return to action following a short period of recovery.
What's a short period of recovery?
Well,
is that a week, a month? Or?
Who knows?
Yeah,
Let's hope it's not long, because he played brilliantly last game.
He's been fantastic, hasn't he? It was a great strike, wasn't it? But yeah, big opportunity, as we mentioned. Adji Elise coming back from injury, fortunately. One out of the treatment room there, and then another one, Dan Ballard, who has had some game time. He come on for 10-15 minutes against Coventry, didn't he? And then he's had a couple of run-outs for Northern Ireland while he's been away, so game time in his legs as well. But Luke having to move across to right back.
We saw in League One how effective Luke was on the right-hand side, wasn't he? He was great, and he still does that. He still strides out with the ball, doesn't he?
Yeah, again, I've played centre-back and I've played at full-back. It is a different role, but you know, you're not changing it too much. We could have, I'm sure Regis and the staff, they've looked at it, possibly do we go with a back three, but they've weighed it up and think, I would have kept it personally as they have done. Keep a back four and move Luke out there. Now, Trey Hume returns on Tuesday night after his one-game suspension. So yeah, he's got a bit of a headache then, hasn't he? Because if Ballard plays really well today, what does he then do at centre-back? So it's a good problem to have, but we've got to get through it today. And then you're looking higher up the pitch. I think Chris Riggan and Danny or Alan Brown ahead of Dan Neil. One's got to occupy the centre-backs, one's got to drop in at times into that sort of 10 position, really. And then, as we mentioned, Tommy Watson, big opportunity for Tommy over on that left-hand side, hopefully in his favoured position, and then Mayenda coming back in as well on that right-hand side.
Exactly, you've said it before, Danny, in previous games, and you've touched upon it earlier today as well. Sometimes these moments create opportunities, don't they?
Yeah, sometimes, you know, you can be in the squad and you think, oh, am I going to get an opportunity? It's not happening, the lads are doing well, then all of a sudden, it's all it takes. Whether you know, I've seen it in training, lads can be training, you pick up an injury in the warm-up even, and then all of a sudden, you've got to be ready. That's why I say your attitude's got to be right in training, and you've got to be ready when you get the opportunity to step in. That man there, Alexic, still waiting for his opportunity. He'll be frustrated, but I'm sure his time's going to come.
Well, Wilson had a great night the other day. He's turned on the lights.
Yeah.
I've never seen someone so excited to do so.
Yeah, man of the moment, isn't it? Looks like a great character. Again, we've had a couple of chats with him, haven't we? We've had a couple of chats with him, haven't we? Pitch side, and you've done the pre-season thing with the new signings. But he looks like he enjoys being at the club, and he stepped up. I said there, he come into it. 5 goals, I think he's got now, 5 or 6, hasn't he, Wilson? I like what I see from him. Different, you know, he ticks a lot of boxes in terms of he can run in behind. His hold-up play is decent at times. He's smooth with the ball.
Fast.
He moves really well. He's quick. He's rangy, long legs once he gets going, as we've seen against Hull. And he's scoring different types of goals as well. So if Connolly is up there, because very rarely do we play with a front two. Again, we might not be today. We've set him up in that shape, but we never really play with a two. And I think it might help Aaron Connolly. Still trying to find his feet at the club. He had starts at Preston a few weeks back. Didn't really happen for him. And he's had moments coming off the bench, really. But I think once, you know, like all strikers, feed on confidence through putting the ball in the back of the net. So if he can manage to do that this afternoon, I'm sure it'll do his confidence a world of good.
Yeah, some of those Sunderland fans who have braved the journey. Of course, whenever Sunderland's in and around London as well, we have a big London branch, don't we?
Yeah, following down there, people working away, and they'll look at the games and pencil them in on the calendars and try and get older tickets. And then obviously you've got your regulars making the journey down. Would have set off early on the coaches this morning, togged up on the bus, and then getting back in the house tonight about 1 o'clock, thinking, what have I done there? But they love it and they keep on.
Well, let's hope the lads give them a shout about, because the last couple of trips on the road have been frustrating. We've been held draws, Danny. We needed those draws into wins if we're going to stay at the top of the table, especially now we know the circumstances of the early kickoffs. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, sometimes you get an opportunity, don't you, to look at your rivals, and that's been the case this afternoon. But yeah, once you've done that, we have got to start to, as you say, we've picked up 3 points from a possible 9 in the last 3 games. So while you're sat up there, you're still top of the table, and it does feel like we let a couple of points slide against Coventry, which we did from the position we were in. We've got to try and make that up now this week. But we're still right up there, aren't we? On merit, and we're there for a reason. Now we're a third of the way through the season.
Yeah, just looking through some of the fans there anticipating the kickoff down at the Den. 20,000 capacities. it's rarely that full, though, isn't it, down there? But you know, the form team in the division, they should have a few extra thousand there today.
So, albeit, look at the weather there. It's not ideal, is it, for young kids? But as you say there, once your team's doing well, you want to try and attract a few more and get them in. They've obviously had a spell in recent years where they've taken a few scalps, haven't they? They've had a couple of good cup runs as well over the years. But yeah, I'd say if you're asking me about Millwall, I would say they're a solid championship team. Yeah. You know, they cause upsets, as we've seen.